AAC Commissioner Mike Oresco puts out a comment, a public comment saying that the monikers of Power 5 and G5 should not be used anymore. We're going to be talking about that here at Peek Around the Corner. Plus, is Endeavor truly plotting behind the scenes, pushing out Big 12 propaganda to try to have it so the Big 12 can rip away schools from the Pac-12? Is that really true? Welcome to episode 163 of College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, if you need a little bit of extra content in college football to get you through the days, to get you through the nights, subscribe to our channel. Smash that like button and share the video with your family and friends. Let's first get to the Mike Oresco story. AAC, the American Athletic Conference. He does not like the description of Power 5 and G5. Power 5 moniker outdated, says AAC Commissioner. We're not gonna go through the whole article of SBJ Michael Smith. We'll put a link in the description box. We're just gonna put out what Mike Oresco said in a statement. In recent weeks, I have seen references to the Power 5 in interviews and public conversations, which suggest that the P5 is all that matters in college athletics. This is profoundly misguided, especially in the current environment. As it now stands in terms of competitiveness, the gap between the number 2 and 3 conferences is far greater than between the number 3 conference and the American. There are P5 conferences that have lost the marquee teams, which gave them the status in the first place, and whose value today is much harder to define. There are P5 conferences that have added multiple teams from the American and other conferences among this group that have discussed adding schools from our conference. If the P5 label means that you are vastly different, why is this so? 5 American Athletic Conference schools were once BCS or Southwest Conference teams. If the difference is so vast, why does the American have 4 New Year's Day football wins over top 10 teams and dozens of regular season football wins against the labeled P5? If the gap is so vast, how could the American have won a national championship in men's basketball and 3 national championships in women's basketball? How could the American have been to a Final Four, an Elite 8, a multiple Sweet 16s, and have had college football playoff team? How could the American currently be home to the number 1 men's basketball team in the country? At this moment in history, separating conferences with so-called Power 5 moniker lacks meaning in the context of competition. It is troubling to see media manufactured labels confirmed by college sports leadership, which do not reflect the reality of college sports going forward. This creates a divide at 5 that should not exist and creates harmful effects. Documents have recently come to light that describe a Power 5 legislative initiative around NIL that has not been shared with the wider membership. This is not a healthy approach, as such an initiative should be a collaborative effort among the wider Division I membership, including all FBS conferences. These 5 conferences do not speak for all of college athletics. The Power 5, the Group of 5 label should be discarded and confined to collegiate history. There are 10 FBS conferences, some more successful than others, but all sharing the similar goals, experience similar challenges, and competing successfully against each other. Okay. I'm going to give you my thoughts on this. It was a great letter, great statement by Mike Oresco. I agree with a lot of it. Please put down your comments in the comment section below the video, how you think Oresco did on this statement. There's a lot there. The competitiveness, absolutely true. All the success the American has had, the American Athletic Conference, and the other G5 conferences. No doubt about it. But there is still one reality to it all. College football, college sports is changing going forward. I personally love the 12-team playoffs. I personally love how it's designed, how the G5 conferences, the schools can get into the playoffs more regularly. Top 6 conference champions get a berth. So there's going to be at least one G5, maybe more than one, but at least one G5 conference every single year that's going to get an automatic berth to the playoffs in the 2024-2025 scenario. But that's the point, isn't it? 2026 and going on, we do not know what the playoffs look like. And that's the point. More and more money is coming into the playoffs. In 2024-2025, there's going to be 11 playoff games each year. We don't have the price tag on it, but it's going to be huge. And in 2026, when those at least 11 playoff games, it could be expanded to 16 teams, which means 15 playoff games. Those games are going to be opened up. It's going to be bid on the open market among media companies, and it's going to drive a whole lot of money. My point is this. The SEC and the Big Ten that Oresco states, they're going to want to make sure they get more of that money than the G5 conferences, the schools, because they bring the eyeballs. Same with the Big 12. Same with the ACC. Same with the Pac-12. They bring more eyeballs than the G5 conferences to the playoffs. So they want more money. So the Power 5 and the G5, maybe that goes away. Maybe it's a Power 3, a Power 4, and a G6. But there's going to be some delineation between those conferences on the basis of playoff money distribution. It is. It could even get to the point of who's going to be in the room for 2026 to decide who gets to be in the playoffs. Remember, Mike Oresco, one of the 10 FBS conferences commissioner, had the veto pen. He could have vetoed. He could have not agreed to the changes of 2024 to 2025. It needed consensus. It needed all 10 FBS conferences and Notre Dame to agree on changing it from the old format of the 4-team invitational playoff to the 12-team playoffs. But in 2026 and beyond, there doesn't need to be consensus. We don't know what it's going to look like. We don't even know who's going to be in the room to be able to vote for it. The SEC and the Big Ten are going to wield great power. You're seeing a battle between Pac-12 and the Big 12 of who's going to be more relevant going forward in the future of college sports. They could be both on the same plane or maybe not, but it's all about making sure, doing the best you can as an institution, as a conference, to better yourself, to better position yourself, to make sure you have a voice in 2026. So yes, on a competitive scale, G5 conferences and their schools, especially the ACC, have done a great job. But the powers that be, the changes that are coming on, the stratification, the distribution of money, well, I would be very careful if I was Mike Oresco, even though I agreed with 90% of that statement. You want to make sure there's a pathway for your schools to get into the expanded playoffs of 16 teams. You want to make sure that there's at least one auto berth for, yes, the G5 conferences, for at least one of them. And consider this. There's the WAC, there's some FCS conferences, 2 of them, the Sun, the A-Sun, and the WAC, that are trying to combine themselves, 2 FCS conferences, to become the 11th FBS conference. And right now, there's no hurdle set up for them to stop them from doing so. Does Mike Oresco want another FBS conference? Or is he going to delineate, is he going to separate the G5 conference from this 11th FBS conference? Just like what the Power 5 does with the G5, right? Interesting to think about. Because the 11th FBS conference is being created. It's trying to be created. Oliver Luck is a consultant to it to try to have the 11th FBS conference. So I don't think that Mike Oresco, even though this statement rings true in so many different ways, I think he's got to be careful. Because the SEC and the Big Ten are in the midst of forming their own solar systems And who knows, in the future, their own different galaxies. And you want to stay in the game. You want to stay in the game. Put down your thoughts and comments about Mike Oresco's AAC comments. Okay. So today, last night, everyone's buzzing about somebody named Karen and Endeavor plotting behind the scenes, pushing out Big 12 propaganda. Look at this. Look at this tweet by this gentleman or lady. Karen Brodkin and her team from Endeavor are pushing out Big 12 propaganda to try and rip away the Pac-12 schools so they go to the Big 12. The doomsday sources and Oregon and Washington taking reduced share to the Big 10 are from her team. Wow. And I'm hearing a lot of this from on Twitter and message boards. People accusing Endeavor of plotting and scheming with reporters out there to push out some Big 12 propaganda that somehow rips away Pac-12 schools. Let me tell you something. If you truly believe this is going on, or this would be effective if it was going on, then the Pac-12 is in much more difficult shape than I even thought they were in. If you think this is going on, and if you think that this would have any impact at all behind the scenes. Unbelievable that people actually believe this. Hi, Karen and your team at Endeavor. Do you seriously think you could pressure the Big Ten presidents into rushing a hire for the new commissioner? You are barking up the wrong tree. The more you pressure that group to do something, the longer they will take as a middle finger back. I have no idea what this is even talking about. Just, come on, guys and gals out there. The Pac-12 is trying to get a deal that will satisfy the perceived needs of the 10 current schools. They're trying to cut a deal, trying to thread the needle that will keep Oregon and Washington on board, and some of those four corner schools on board, and everyone in between. That networks haven't quite given them what they needed or what they wanted yet, or the deal would have been done by now. They are struggling with it. They still have a chance, but things are not going good. There's frustration out there. Do you think Arizona State's athletic director is part of the Endeavor push, the Big 12 propaganda, when Ray Anderson said they're frustrated? Do you really think the athletic, SBJ, Brent McMurphy, Dennis Dodd are all part of this group, this propaganda group, being paid by Endeavor to push out this stuff? Are you really think that's what's going on? What's going on is the Pac-12 made the wrong decision. And Brett Yormark did make the right decision in taking the deal that he got on October 30th from Fox Sports and ESPN. And every single person out there, I cannot think of one person, every single person out there who declared that Yormark did the wrong thing, that left money on the table. Every person out there who said Yormark did the wrong thing and George Kliavkoff did the right thing in waiting to put his value out in the open market, the Pac-12 content, not one of them have come back and said, oops, I got it wrong. Oops, Yormark did the right thing. Oops, got that one wrong. Not one of them. Not one of them. So here we are, we got the new shiny object being put up there for everybody to deflect themselves from the bad positions, from the bad decision making that the Pac-12 made. Yeah, there's time. They can correct it. They got to get a comprehensive deal in front of those Pac-12 presidents, and they've got to hash it out. And somehow they got to get that deal to be somewhere around 50% linear for those schools to sign on. The deal can't be that long because Oregon and Washington are not going to sign on. They're not going to sign a traditional long-term GORE. And yes, the Big Ten is thinking about Oregon and Washington again. You don't have to believe peek around the corner. You don't have to believe anybody on that. But you cannot sit here and say that Endeavor, well, you can if you want to make a fool of yourself. Endeavor is plotting and scheming and pushing reporters to put out Big 12 propaganda. That's not Cloak and Dagger. There is true Cloak and Dagger going on out there. In other words, there's people representing the Big 12 schools, the Big 12 conference and those four corner schools and others talking amongst themselves That's Cloak and Dagger. That's going on. But this is not Cloak and Dagger. Endeavor's not Cloak and Dagger. That's delusional. Delusional thinking. Put down your comments. Put down your comments in the comment section below the video. Let me know how wrong I got it all again today. Until next time, and it can be really soon, real soon. Until next time. From all of us that peek around the corner to all of you, please, please, you all take good care of each other. Thank you so very much.